Liberalism versus conservatism. I'm going to explain the fundamental differences between liberals and conservatives. As someone that's been on both camps, I feel like I have the inside out knowledge most of you might lack. I was born and raised in Southern California, and I've spent more time with liberals than conservatives. Except when I was in the Navy, I had little clue what conservatism was about. Should mention, I'm from the same hometown, Glendale, California, where John Wayne had spent as a teen. And like him, I used to think I was a liberal until I had other supposed liberals tell me I'm not. And it's one I personally understand since his experience was my experience. I'm going to just say it. They don't like to think too far on a matter. That's it. It's that simple. They're not thinkers. And not just that, they hate thinking. And they're even afraid of it. They're afraid to think, that's all. Why do you think they'll jump from supporting Ukraine to supporting abortion so quickly? Because they're touch-and-go people, mental and moral drifters that never really settle on anything to conserve any greater idea or profession. They're just a bunch of rolling stones, and they do nothing but gather a lot of moss. I remember when I was going to art school, I had friends, and I spent all day around them. What are liberal friends like? Being ignored all the time and spending all day to say or do something to not be ignored. That's what being a liberal is like, and it gets to the point you'll say just about anything to get attention, and that there's a trick of it. Let's say the matter of abortion would come up. We'd say it's her choice, and that's it. No further thoughts needed. Being a group afraid to think, we might think, isn't it killing? Maybe she shouldn't have sex with the man she picked up at a bar randomly while intoxicated. Maybe she should be on birth control if she wants to live such a loose lifestyle. But we won't say. Everyone in that liberal group would be afraid to say, because we were afraid to think too far into it. A group of dudes might think selfishly and think, crap, I can't say it's murder or I won't be able to have sex with her later. And guys will totally not bring it up simply over that. They don't think too far. They're afraid of thinking. Being a liberal is rough. You'll spend all day feeling like a good-for-nothing, not worth any time of your peers. That's how you'll spend 95% of your time. You see, when the devil writes a contract, he's aware that there's two types he's going to deal with. Those that read the fine print and those that don't. Conservatives tend to be the group that reads the fine print, liberals don't. And the devil is most certainly in the details. Now here's another thing about liberals most conservatives won't understand. They have their own hierarchy, or really a food chain. Not all of them are afraid of thinking. Eventually, it gets old. You see, when you spend a long time as a liberal, of getting ignored all the time and dealing with such eventually gets to you. The older you grow, the more you're inclined to read that stupid contract you've spent your life signing before actually signing it. I mean, by this point, you have life worth of experience of being used by the system. You're mad now. And you just can't put up with all the ignorant people and cowards around you anymore. This is an important juncture in life, and there's two separate roads an advanced person that's a liberal can take. A, never again signing the devil's contract. B, draft your own contract and graduate from being the used and abused to becoming the user and abuser. In LA, in a liberal city, in a democratic city, a city moving towards communism, everything is a con. From the confusing parking signs to the confusing politicians and celebrities and whatnot, it's like a poker game. If you don't know who the sucker is in the group, you're it. To survive in the big city, you eventually have to stop getting preyed upon all the time and begin preying on others. We all need money to get by, especially in a democratic city. It's all about finding the loopholes, taking advantage of the growing corruption just to stay ahead. I had a friend in LA that used to do work for the city, fixing lampposts and stuff of that nature. He said working in the city was a great steal. You'd get a work order to fix a lamppost or a traffic light, you'd estimate the cost, then demand 3 to 10 times the money needed. You'd complete the work order and pocket the rest. That or do a terrible job so it can break again, you can demand more money to fix it again later. This also being a reason why everything always seems broke in such an advanced metropolis. Everybody did it, he'd say. Everyone would wet their beaks, and those that wouldn't would get ejected from the job. Auditors, They pay them off to fix the books and anyone else doing all the fact checking. This is all it's about. It's all a con. It's like Kaepernick. Having been around liberals and Democrats all my life, I know how they think. Kaepernick probably knows the NFL isn't racist, but he also knows he's not that good of a player. He's also half black, and he knows his audience aren't the types to read into everything he's saying. Even as a terrible football player, he gets paid well enough because he's made a name, made deals with Netflix, selling a con he's sure will get him the sort of money and attention he wants. So he pretends to be all about that anti-racism, fascism, capitalism, plays his political con job, fools all the suckers that are born every minute, and makes the world a worse place in return for his cost of living. You see, what conservatives tend to lack in matters like these are experience. Just about how much do you expect a car mechanic in a small town in Kansas to know about the racism or sexism going on in Hollywood, thousands of miles away? And me, having been one to see them from the inside out, I can honestly tell you, it's just a con. I had someone in my family that I won't say, that I would say his occupation is what I'd call a professional suer. His profession, he finds angles, sues people, and gets away with it. I mean, he even sued his own mother one time, and her mother was in on it. He was that dedicated to the trade. I remember back in the 90s, I was in a bus with this family member going to Santa Monica. On the way there in Beverly Hills, the bus driver got into an accident hitting some guy driving a Benz Mercedes, an expensive German car. All I can remember. I spent that day with this person in Santa Monica later. Then a couple of weeks later, this person was very cheerful about something. Come to find out, he had sued the bus company, experiencing a whiplash, one I know he didn't get, and he got a money settlement that he shared with all the lawyers and doctors that had written him off as legit. This one experience for me pretty much details all you need to know about these people. I find conservatives that argue with them being foolish, because most of them know the NFL isn't racist. You believe in Kaepernick being dead serious about the matter is just part of the con he uses for his benefit, making enemies of Trump supporters. He's obviously doing something right in their eyes. Stop arguing with liberals is what I really want to say, and watch where the money trail leads, and you'll have all you need to know about these people. And Democrats are all about that tax money, kind of like the homeless situation in Los Angeles. They know it's bad. They want it to be bad. In a corrupt city like that, they want a homelessness pandemic, because then the politicians can demand tax money to fix the situation. And like that friend of mine that worked for a city fixing lampposts and traffic lights, they can demand a large sum, do nothing, or hardly anything at all, pocket the money over expenses, and claim incompetency. Which is something that friend of mine couldn't do, but politicians can do all the time, and they do all the time, claim incompetency. And when the homelessness situation gets worse, they can just demand more tax money. Your money. And this is what you call the homelessness industrial complex. What is wrong with communists? Being a communist? Can you answer me that? I'm an Armenian, so I know something about communism. You know why you can't tell what a communist is? You can't, because communist is another word for thief. Most people won't be able to tell what a communist is, or a Democrat or liberal. The simple-minded people that don't like to think too far, that are too afraid to read the fine print, and all those devils in the details will look at it superficially and see how it's about taking from the rich and giving to the poor. Think of Robin Hood and start believing that maybe Santa Claus really does exist. Of course, it's a con. These people are not Santa Claus, nor Robin Hoods. Communist is just a euphemism for thief, because everyone knows what a thief is. You learn what a thief is the same time you learn who Santa Claus is, and a thief is a bad man. But unlike Santa Claus, thieves are real. Of course, communist, socialist, liberal, it's not something that's obvious and easy to tell what they are, since the devil will never use the same name twice. Stop calling them by the names you're using, and start calling them what they really are. Money is the root of all evil, and it's time to stop listening to the narrative they're giving before the curtains and start focusing on the shady deals and practices they're conducting at the back. If some guy says he's 10% Native American, 10% black, who's also a Ukrainian refugee, who's also a Muslim and a transsexual blue-haired January 6th survivor, I'll tell you right now, you're an idiot if you believe him. Or them, or them. Idiot. Because a thief by any other name